I thought it was quite shocking because, as I know, the NGV is a government institution that is a art gallery. And so for them to refuse the venue because of security measures, security concerns, that was very shocking to me. And I think that is a kind of self-censorship that is happening not only in Melbourne, not only in Hong Kong, but really worldwide, where we see these different institutions and organizations, they are starting to keep a distance with all these protests from Hong Kongers, which might result into clashes with other Chinese communities, or even it might become in opposition with what the Chinese government wants. So I think this is an issue that the global community has to be aware of, and we have to stand up against these situations.
You say it's self-censorship, but do you think it's possible that there was overt or external pressure brought to bear by the Chinese government?
Well, frankly speaking, I cannot say, because I don't have the evidence to say that it is because of political pressure from any government. But from what I know, it is the reason that they gave it's because of security concerns. But still, that is something that is unacceptable, because this is a institution that supposedly they have security, I guess. And so is that something that should stop them from renting out the venue to pro-democracy activists. And that is something that, it is happening. It is something that is happening in a lot of different places, and it is very alarming to me.
The NGV is currently hosting a Terracotta Warriors exhibition, which couldn't have happened without the support of the Chinese government. Do you think that was a consideration for the gallery?
Well, of course, that could be within the speculations of people looking onto this particular issue. And, to give some context, it is something that is very real in Hong Kong, where we see all these different corporates and institutions. They are succumbing to these kinds of Chinese government, the pressure from the Chinese government, including Cathay Pacific, the airlines, and also the MTR, our subway. They have bowed down to these sorts of pressure by firing some of the employees and even shutting down MTR stations during protests. So is that something that is reaching out to the worldwide community in these international businesses and institutions? And that is something that I believe is very, very real, and it is happening. And anyone really should be aware of this, whether you're an Australian or American or Hong Kong.
Violence, of course, has flared up on a number of Australian campuses. Do you not think it's reasonable for a venue like this to consider weighing up the risks of holding such an event?
Well, I mean, as a citizen or even as a corporation, we do have values that we should put ahead of some other concerns, including human rights and the freedom of speech. And if because of these fears that are coming from different situations, and then these institutions, they would choose to step back and to avoid these problems, I think that is something that is really unacceptable, because especially if it's an art institution where they should be for the freedom of speech and the freedom of expression, then that is something that we cannot accept as the citizens or the people who have paid for the establishment of these institutions.
There'll be further protests today after a female protester was allegedly strip-searched. How concerned are you by the tone the pushback from authorities is taking?
Yes, so tonight we have a rally that is called Protest 2, which is reference to the Me Too, where we have seen a lot of female protesters being, whether it's verbally abused or even there have been claims that they have been sexually abused within police stations. So, as you might all know, it is difficult for females to be participating in protests because they might quite easily become victims of these kinds of abuses. So, and as I have seen in the Hong Kong protests, there have been a lot of young females within the front lines. So I think that is something that is very, very causing some very serious intimidations from whether it's from the police or even from supporters of the Chinese camp. So, I think in these times we just have to stand together and really to give support to one another, because we can only rely on our people right now.
Denise, appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.